All right, we're good, Senator.
Good morning, folks, and welcome to the 130th Maine State Legislature. My name is Joe Rafferty, and I represent Senate District 34 down in the York County. Here this morning as chair of the Committee on Education and Cultural Affairs for a work session in regards to a number of LDs, which I'll go through the list shortly. Just want to remind folks that the purpose of the meeting is for the committee to receive information from staff and others in order for the members to consider the legislative proposals before them and to make recommendations or reports to the legislature. Only committee members, the committee analysts, and those specifically invited to attend will be participating in the work session using Zoom. For members of the public wishing to observe the meeting, it is being live streamed on the committee's YouTube channel and will also be recorded for viewing after today's meeting concludes. We're also broadcasting the audio of this meeting on the legislature's website, www.legislature.maine.gov. And so again, I want to welcome you, and I would also like to extend an opportunity to our committee members to introduce themselves, and I will start with my co-chair, Representative Brennan.
Thank you, Senator. Good morning. My name is Michael Brennan, and I represent District 36, which is part of Portland.
Thank you, sir. And Senator Woodsum.
Good morning, thank you. Dave Woodsum, Senate District 33 and the northwestern part of York County.
Thank you. And Representative Crockett. I'm going to pass on Representative Dodge.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Jan Dodge, House District 97, Belfast, Northport, and Waldo. Good morning.
Thank you. Representative Lyman.
Good morning. Representative Lyman, District 74, J, Livermore Falls, Carter, Livermore, and I'm at the Capitol. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative McRae.
Yes, good morning, everybody. I'm Dave McRae. I live in Fort Fairfield, and I represent District 148 up here in the county.
Thank you. Representative Millett.
Good morning. I'm Rebecca Millett. I represent House District 30, which is most of Cape Elizabeth.
Thank you. Representative Salisbury.
Hi, I'm Sue Salisbury, and I represent House District 35, which is part of Westbrook. And I'll be leaving for a little bit to go to another committee. I'll be back.
Thank you. And that serves as a reminder that it is quite common to see representatives enter or leave to attend and testify potentially in other committees. We're all spread out a little bit this time of the year. So I expect to see that happen. Representative Sampson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I too am at the state capitol. I'm Heidi Sampson, representing the good people of House District 21. That's Alfred, Limerick, Shapley, Newfield, and Parsonsfield.
Thank you. Representative Stearns.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Paul Stearns. I represent House District 119, located in Piscataquis County.
Thank you. And Representative Crockett.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And my apologies, missing my, I believe, earlier cue. Having a little bit of unstable internet here, and glad to be back. Ed Crockett, District 43, part of Portland and part of Falmouth.
Thank you. And this morning, again, working with us in terms of our committee clerk will be Sam Baker. Sam will assist folks entering, or potentially leaving the committee, and has been outstanding in terms of helping anyone through any technical issues they may encounter along the way. We'll also have our analyst with us this morning, and that would be Ms. Risler, and she has been outstanding in terms of coming and assisting the committee in a number of different ways. This morning, as we talk about LDs, you'll hear her break them down first, and then answer questions that might arise as a result of that analysis. In any case, the LDs this morning will be LD 1253, and that'll be follow with actually LD 1391, then LD 550, then LD 96, 156, LD 833, and LD 1082. With that said, I will open a session on LD 1253 and 1391 and give the floor to you, Hillary. Thank you very much.
Good morning. I am going to share my screen. And I do have one bill analysis for both LDs 1253 and 1391. So LD 1253 is an act to add a faculty member and a non-faculty staff member to the Board of Trustees of the University of Maine system. And LD 1391 is an act to enhance the educational expertise and knowledge of the Board of Trustees of the University of Maine system. Both bills amend the, private and special law that establishes the University of Maine System Board of Trustees. LD 1253 adds 2 members of the Board of Trustees to the University of Maine system, a faculty member and a non-faculty staff member. The members are full voting members, serve 5-year terms, and are appointed by the governor from a list provided by their respective unions. The member for each seat may not come from the same campus in any 2 consecutive terms. They receive reasonable leave with pay at their university salaries for board meetings and other board business conducted during work hours, and their compensation as university employees is not otherwise altered. LD 1391 adds 6 members to the Board of Trustees of the University of Maine system, who may be current or retired public sector educators, are full voting members, and may sit on any Board of Trustees committee. It requires 3 of the 6 members to be elected by members of the Associated Faculties of the University of Maine Labor Union, and 3 to be elected by members of the Maine Education Association Labor Union. All 6 of the members must be confirmed by the Joint Standing Committee of the Legislature having jurisdiction over education and cultural affairs. Requires the 6 members to serve for 5-year terms, except that of the initial trustees elected by the Associated Faculties of the University of Maine. 1 member must serve for 1 year, 1 member must serve for 3 years, and 1 member must serve for 5 years. And of the initial trustees elected by the Maine Education Association, 1 member must serve for 1 year, 1 member must serve for 3 years, and 1 member must serve for 5 years. And the reason that appointments are sometimes done like that for initial appointments is so that those terms become staggered and they're not all joining at the same time every 6 years. I did attach a side-by-side comparison of these 2 different bills for you. I wasn't going to pull that up right now, but I can if it would be helpful for anyone on the committee. LD 1391 makes a number of additional technical changes in terms of sort of new drafting standards, but the committee can go forward with either bill. Because it is a private and special law, it's treated a little bit differently, and I'll just talk about that in a moment. For testimony at the public hearing, proponents of the bill testified that the bill came about in part because of a decision made by the UMaine Board of Trustees this past fall regarding health insurance for retirees. That there's pressure on the relationship between the board, faculty, and administration, and a seat for faculty and staff will improve lines of communication and build mutual understanding of issues and solutions. The other state universities have faculty on board members, and it does not create conflict of interest issues. Members recuse themselves when necessary. The best decisions are made when the voices of educators who actually work with and support students are included in the process, and having a faculty member on the board is crucial to making it more informed about longitudinal issues that impact the campuses. The faculty representatives to the board do not fill the same function as trustees currently because they are excluded from much. That non-faculty members see the bigger picture about how changes at the system level affect the quality of campus life. And that including faculty and staff will make the board more responsive to the existing higher educational needs of the people of Maine. The committee also heard testimony in opposition to both of these bills, that the bright line between the governing board and employees is necessary to uphold taxpayers' trust, and because state law vests the responsibility of the board to negotiate collective bargaining agreements and to administer such agreements. Placing voting members, especially those selected or elected by unions who collectively bargain with the board, excuse the typo, would significantly undermine the UMS Labor Relations Act. That the shared governance process required by the system's accreditation standards and longstanding tradition achieves the goal of enhancing educational expertise of the board and ensuring that academic knowledge of employees informs decision-making, and that the board would welcome the opportunity to be formally invited to appear before this committee annually, which would foster a more productive partnership between the UMaine system and the legislature. So just some quick information. This committee does not often deal with private and special laws. They're different from public law bills in that they have a much narrower scope. Private and special law proposes a law that relates to particular persons or entities, in this case, the University of Maine Board of Trustees, to a class of particular persons or entities, or operates on or over a portion of a class instead of the entire class. You see these a lot in, for example, state and local, or an ENR having to do with water and sewer districts. They are routinely created by private and special law. A private and special law is not allocated to the Maine revised statutes, but does appear in the laws of the state of Maine. So before I jump to that, there was one other thing that I wanted to mention that should have been included on my bill analysis, but was not. And that is that this committee earlier this session also had LD 453, which the committee voted to, well, the majority of the committee voted to provide for the appointment of a member of a federally recognized Indian nation, tribe, or band in the state, also to the University of Board of Trustees. The committee certainly can still move forward with these bills, but what you should be aware of is that that can create a technical conflict, as in you're amending two sections, or you're amending the same section of law in two different ways. Some things that the committee might want to consider is that you could incorporate the provisions of LD 453 into this committee amendment if you move forward with one of these bills. However, that bill, I think, was currently passed to be engrossed in both the House and Senate. So the committee could also pass this as is, or with any amendments the committee wants, and deal with it as a floor amendment in the chambers. Ultimately, if both were to be enacted, there would be a conflict there, and it would probably be dealt with through an errors bill down the road. So it's certainly not fatal, but it's something for the committee to keep in mind as you go through the process, that is a conflict that will need to be resolved at some point. And how it gets resolved is simply a matter of timing of where all the bills end up. Committee requests for additional information. The committee heard a lot of testimony about some of the other states with public universities with board members. I did ask one of the wonderful researchers in OPLA to put together some information for me. And so I did include that for you in your email as well. And you do have preliminary fiscal impact statements for both bills, indicating that additional costs can be absorbed within existing budgeted resources. I also want to add that I know I forwarded to this committee a number of emails over the past couple of days, both from a Board of Trustees, as well as this morning, forwarded an email from Attorney General Aaron Fry, from Representative Millett. And so I just want the committee to know that I have all those available and can pull those up if necessary as well.
Need to remember to unmute myself. Thank you, Hillary, for that. And prior to taking any questions, I see that Senator Daughtry has come from another committee, and I would give her an opportunity to say hello and introduce herself.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I am Maddie Daughtry. I represent Senate District 24, which are the communities of Brunswick, Harpswell, North Yarmouth, Freeport, and Pownell. And the tulips are beautiful this morning and coming up all around us.
Thank you very much. Welcome. So I will entertain some questions. I do see that Representative Millett has her hand up. Representative?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So are we talking about LD 453 in terms of the conflict?
Yes.
And where in that bill does it say it's a special purpose private law?
I can pull it up for you.
Oh, I see. Here it is. P and S and L? P and
Yes.
SL?
P and SL, yes.
Okay. And what does that law relate to?
That is the University of Maine charter that establishes the Board of Trustees.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, and that is the same law that both LDs 1253 and 1391 also amend. And when you have a private and special law, if you want to make an amendment to that, it is the appropriate vehicle to amend the private and special law.
Thank you.
So
Did
if
you have
it's
a
been-
follow-up?
Sorry, if I can have a follow-up, Mr. Chair?
Yes, yeah.
If it's
Yes.
been engrossed, then how is this in conflict?
So what basically happens, and this happens the same with the Maine revised statutes, but occasionally you'll have two different laws that both get enacted that perhaps create, a new subsection that does different things, but they both use new subsection 13 because that was the next subsection to use. Or in this case, you have two laws that are not substantively in conflict, as in you could add that member as well as you have this member, but you have one law that's enacted that is having the board have 17 members, and you have something else that has the board that says it has 18 members. And so you need to resolve that conflict because it really should be 19 members.
Right.
And one thing you can do is if, for example, LD 453 gets enacted, you could incorporate the changes of these into that. There are a number of different ways to do it, and I don't need to get into all of them. It sort of depends on timing on where each bill is in the process.
Right. Okay, so you could do that, or you could do it through the errors bill.
Or you could ultimately do it through the errors bill. Yep.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Any other questions, folks, at this time? Discussion? Representative Millette?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I think everyone was in receipt of the communication from Mr. Irwin of the Board of Trustees yesterday, and the subsequent information from our Attorney General. In the Attorney General's response, he did suggest some additional language to just make things clear. It's the notwithstanding language. So I definitely listen very carefully when the Attorney General suggests language. So I would like to have the committee consider including that. And then as well, I believe in section 3 of my bill, there's a little bit of an issue on the language there. So I have some clarifying language. It's on line 26. I would change it to say the governor shall solicit a list of 3 eligible candidates from each of the University of Maine System's non-faculty unions. And then on line 30, say the staff member may not come from the same campus or union in any 2 consecutive terms. And I think that makes things a bit clearer. Thank you.
Thank you. Any, excuse me, any other questions or comment? Representative, I'm sorry, Senator Woodson?
Thank you. Just some clarification questions. How many new trustees will be appointed? Is it 2?
Yes.
On
1 faculty and 1 non-faculty.
Okay, all right. And are trustees compensated?
No.
No, okay. Very good, thank you.
any other questions? Yes, Representative Brennan.
I'll defer to Representative
I
Stearns.
see it. Representative Stearns, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With all the information that I have at hand, I believe that Ms. Riley's testimony was spot on. And I won't be supporting the bill. I believe that there needs to be a, as she put, clear, bright line to prevent any indication or even the appearance of a conflict of interest on the Board of Trustees.
Thank you. And Representative Brennan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would, at this point, given the Attorney General's clarification on this issue about conflict of interest, that was an issue that was addressed by Ms. Riley, I would move ought to pass on LD 1293 as amended by Representative Millette. And I would also ask our staff analysts to navigate the issue with 453 and with this bill in a way that will allow us to move forward.
I would second that, Mr. Chair, please. Thank you.
So I have a motion by Representative Brennan, ought to pass as amended, seconded by Representative Dodge. And I have a question from Hillary.
So I can't really navigate that without some direction from the committee. I think the question from the committee, for the committee, is one option would be to include in the amendment the provisions from LD 453 as amended. However, that bill has already gone through the floor in the House and Senate, so I'm not sure if you want to do that to confuse if that would confuse the issue, and I'm seeing shaking heads. In that case, what will need to happen is a floor amendment once these get reported out, and what that will look like will depend a little bit on the timing of where that other bill is. And so there's nothing that I can do to help you navigate it at this point, but I will make a note and I will alert the revisor's office that they should expect to hear from someone from this committee in regards to this conflict and the floor amendment. And when that time comes, I can certainly help draft that if needed.
I guess that was my thought, that if we do need a floor amendment, that you would help us draft that to make the, so that we could proceed in the way that we intend at this point.
Yes, and as the committee, I'm sure everybody knows, floor amendments do get processed directly through the revisor's office, but I will work with them to make sure that happens.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for your clarification on that. And I have a hand up, Representative Millette.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I will keep in close touch with Ms. Risler and with leadership as well to figure out what the interested parties believe is the best way forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, and I will ask Sam if you would be kind enough to call a roll. So just to review, the motion was by Representative Brennan to ought to pass as amended, I'm sorry, and seconded by Representative Dodge. So Sam, if you would be so kind.
Yes, Senator. Senator Rafferty.
Yes, ought to pass as amended.
Senator Rafferty votes yes. Senator Daughtry.
Yes.
Senator Daughtry votes yes. Senator Woodson.
No.
Senator Woodson votes no. Representative Brennan.
Yes.
Representative Brennan votes yes. Representative Millette.
Yes.
Representative Millette votes yes. Representative McCray.
Yes.
Representative McCray votes yes. Representative Dodge.
Yay.
Representative Dodge votes yay. Representative Crockett.
Yes.
Representative Crockett votes yes. Representative Salisbury. Not with us. Representative Stearns.
No.
Representative Stearns votes no. Representative Sampson.
No.
Representative Sampson votes no. Representative Lyman.
No.
Representative Lyman votes no. And Representative Roach is still not with us. All right. All right, Senator. So 7 members vote in favor of the motion and 4 opposed. The minority report?
Not to pass.
Well, thank you, folks, and thanks for doing that, Sam. I would call a work session on LD 1253 to a close. And look at LD 1391. Any questions or comments relative to 1391? Representative Brennan?
Thank you, Senator. And given that we already have gone through the staff analysis on this, I would like to offer an amendment at this point on LD 1391.
Yes, if you
Okay.
would.
And the amendment would direct the Department of Education to conduct an analysis of the demographic and geographical profile of the membership of the boards of the University of Maine system, the Maine Community College, the State Board of Education, and Maine Maritime Academy. The report will also include a review of how other states make appointments to education-related policy-making boards. And the DOE may offer recommendations based on the analysis on how to ensure appropriate geographic and demographic representation. The report will be provided to the Joint Committee on Education and Cultural Affairs by January 15th, 2021. And I know this is kind of a long worded amendment, but the intent is for us to have the opportunity to look at the current composition and makeup of the boards of the policy setting entities that we have currently in the state, to see how other states may make those appointments. And lastly, have a discussion before the committee and with the committee on how we ensure demographic and geographic representation across the state. So I don't think it's a major piece of work for the Department of Education, but I think it's useful for us to have that information given the discussions we've just had this session in terms of appointments to those boards. So that's my amendment to 1391.
Thank you, sir. Any questions of Representative Brennan or other questions related to the amendment or 1391 at this time? Then any further discussion? Then I would be looking for a motion. Oh, sorry, I see Hillary has is your hand up?
Yeah, I just had to make one annoying, obvious clarification, which is Representative Brennan, I think you said the report back date was going to be in 2021 and it should be 2020 or 2022.
That's hardly annoying. It's probably more annoying that I forgot it, that it was going to be 2022.
Thank you. Representative McCray?
Yes, if you are ready for a motion, I would like to make one.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I move that LD 1391 as amended by the amendment that was just described by Representative Brennan be passed.
I would second that, Mr. Chair, please. Thank you.
Thank you both. Representative McCray, so LD 1391 as amended ought to pass was your motion, seconded by Representative Dodge. And I see some hands up still. Are there any questions? Representative Brennan? No? Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Sam, I would like for you to, if you would, call a roll in terms of this. We're reacting to the motion by Representative McCray to ought to pass 1391 as amended, seconded by Representative Dodge.
Yes, Senator. Senator Rafferty,
Yes, ought to pass as amended.
Senator Rafferty votes yes. Senator Woodson,
No.
Senator Woodson votes no. Representative Brennan,
Yes.
Representative Brennan votes yes. Representative Millette,
Yes.
Representative Millette votes yes. Representative McCray,
Yes.
Representative McCray votes yes. Representative Dodge,
Yay.
Representative Dodge votes yay. Representative Crockett,
Yes.
Representative Crockett votes yes. Representative Salisbury still not with us. Representative Stearns,
Yes.
Representative, oh,
My apology, no.
Representative Stearns votes no. No
Lost-
problem.
Lost
problem.
focus there.
That's okay. So I use pencil. All right, Representative Sampson.
No.
Representative Sampson votes no. Representative Lyman.
No.
Representative Lyman votes no. And Representative Roach still not with us. All right, Senator. So I have 6 members in favor of the motion, 4 opposed, and the minority report.
Not to pass.
Damn, I seem to be missing one. You said 6-4?
Yes, Senator. We have Representatives Roach and Salisbury are absent, as well as Senator Daughtry.
Oh, okay. I missed Senator Daughtry.
No, that's okay. Please double check my math. I studied history.
Oh, no. Well, fortunately, Sam, we have 10 minutes here, so we're good. But thank you very much, folks, again, for your help in that matter. And I will call the work session on LD 1391 to a close. And again, thanks, folks, for your continued help. We are moving forward, and I believe our next LD to work, the work session on LD 550 is now open, and we will hear from Hillary in terms of her analysis, please.
Yes, just give me one moment to pull it up. And it would help if I share my screen. Okay, here we go. All right, so this is LD 550, which is a resolve directing the State Board of Education to adopt rules prohibiting teachers in public schools from engaging in political, ideological, or religious advocacy in the classroom. This resolve directs the State Board to adopt major substantive rules prohibiting teachers in public schools from engaging in political, religious, or ideological advocacy in the classroom, or from introducing any controversial subject matter that is not germane to the topic of the course being taught, with penalties for violations up to and including termination of the teacher. This resolve requires the State Board of Education to provide written notice of the rules to all affected teachers, parents, and students, and for teachers to receive annually at least 3 hours of continuing teacher education to instruct the teachers on the rules. Finally, this resolve directs the Department of Education to request professional teacher organizations and unions to voluntarily adopt an educator's code of ethics and professional responsibility that incorporates the rules and that specifically prohibits teachers in kindergarten to grade 12 instruction from using the classroom for political indoctrination. This committee did receive a proposed amendment from the sponsor late yesterday. And that proposed amendment I can pull up if you want, but it does provide that enforcement would be done by the school administrative unit. It removes the provision regarding the violations or penalties for violations would be termination or up to and including termination, and instead replaces that with increased training for the teacher. And it also provides an additional provision for the education committee to report out a bill, and I will touch on that. That deals with a technical issue that I will bring up in a moment. But before I get to that, proponents of the bill testified that the goal of the bill is not about punitive measures, but more about education to make sure teachers are properly equipped to guide students. That when it comes to controversial partisan issues, there can be vigorous discussion, but the teacher needs to give both sides. With deeply dividing political and social ideologies in the country right now, it is important that teachers do not try to influence students to support one ideology over another or a political candidate over another, and that the students should not be taught critical race theory in the classroom. Opponents of the bill testified that the bill is overly broad, assumes that there are two sides to every issue, and would create unintended consequences. The schools already have policies that cover the concerns identified in this bill, and that there's not time to offer training on an annual basis on a topic that is already covered by another policy. That the bill could implicate First Amendment concerns, that one of the most important rules of education is to help students discern between fact and fiction and come to their own informed decisions and opinions, and that the legislation reaches into curriculum and instruction, which is squarely in the decision-making domain of local districts. So this is the issue I just talked about briefly. Currently, the bill is drafted as a resolve, and as the committee knows, resolves have the same force of law as acts, but do not affect general law and are generally of limited duration. Resolve is usually the proper instrument for a one-time occurrence. As this committee discussed a lot actually yesterday on one of our bills, although initial rulemaking is a one-time occurrence, the rulemaking authority and the force of the rules are of a lasting duration. Procedurally, the committee cannot amend the resolve to become an act. But as the committee discussed yesterday on the rules of having to do with restraint and seclusion, what happens is when you have this rulemaking authority as part of a resolve and not a rule, then 5-10 years down the road, it's hard to figure out where the authority for that rule came from. So my suggestion to deal with this issue is that when these major substantive rules come before the committee next year, if the committee moves forward with this bill, that the committee would be authorized to report out a bill to incorporate that rulemaking authority into the main revised statute so that that permanent rulemaking authority would exist. And you avoid the situation that we talked about yesterday where you're trying to back end the authority into the statute when the rule already exists. So committee requests for some additional information. The committee requested information on the 1619 project, and I have to admit this is the first time I've ever done this, but I did just provide the Wikipedia page for some background information. It's actually pretty comprehensive, as well as a link to the 1619 project curriculum. It did come out of the New York Times, but certainly New York Times requires a subscription, and so I didn't want to provide that link. I wanted to provide an open source link for you. The committee also asked a little bit about the bill from, I think it was 2 years ago now, from the 129th legislature, which was LD 589. Although the committee did not formally write a letter, during that work session, the committee did ask the Maine School Management Association to send out some correspondence to school boards on this issue. And I did provide for you in an email, and I have here the correspondence that was provided in March of 2019 from the Maine School Management Association regarding 5889 and some of these issues. Other than that, there was a preliminary fiscal impact statement, which indicates a one-time general fund appropriation of $5,496 for the State Board of Education for the per diem and costs for board members to attend additional meetings to adopt the major substantive rules.
So, do we have any questions at this time from Hillary? Yes, Representative Dodge.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Ms. Risler, for your information this morning and always. My question is around the term academic freedom and how that might be the watchword of a faculty member who is accused of stepping over the line. Could you respond to that, please?
I don't really think that I can. I think that's more of a little bit of a policy consideration, and for those who, in terms of that term, it's certainly not a defined or statutory term that I can point you to and say this is what academic freedom means. So I don't think it's a question that I can really address.
Thank you. Representative Stearns.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'd like to use Representative Dodge's inquiry to as kind of a segue into an amendment. that I'll be putting forward. My apologies to the entire committee for not having it out and crafted. Like most of you, I went to bed last night still with 15 chores left to do, and as we're sort of drinking from the fire hose. In most of our schools, most of the schools in Maine have policies that are very similar in nature, usually adopted with the help of Maine school management. And I'm referring in this case to policy IMB, located in most of our public school policy manuals. And the title of the policy is Teaching About Controversial / Sensitive Issues. I did email it to Hillary. I'm not sure if she's received it. And I'm not sure if I'm allowed to screen share. That's probably, but it would be great if we could. Anyway, the gist of my amendment would be to make IMB a mandatory policy if it is not already. And again, my apologies for not knowing that. And the second part of the amendment would be to have a stakeholder group made up of someone from Maine School Board Association, Maine School Superintendents Association, the MEA, the Department of Education, and the Maine Principals Association. And they would be charged with developing a proposal for professional development and training for teachers, administrators, and school board members in detail, looking at on the ground examples, if you will. Again, kind of referring back to Representative Dodge's comment on professional academic freedom. And it would give good, solid training so that, in my opinion, it would, that's the best way forward with this. The other piece that I'd like to see that group, they'd also be able to come back, report back, and we'd have the ability to report a bill out. In my opinion, this issue and this topic is more worthy of annual or semi-annual training than some of the semi-annual and annual trainings that teachers do. This is the core of their mission, how they relate and converse with students. If this is well done, it will be good protection for the faculty member to have more clear guidelines, and it will also create good guidance for boards, good guidance for administration, and ultimately trickle down to parents. So again, my apologies for not having it highly organized, but I wanted to put it out fairly early in the conversation because I do think it would be if I were a school teacher, again, I want to know the rules in a little bit more detail. So I'll send IMB out to, actually Hillary already has it and she could forward it to the committee. That's what I intend to do.
Thank you. I am not going to attempt at repeating that amendment, but I think I have the gist of it here in terms of some of my notes. And I know you'd be available, obviously, to repeat that at any request. So, thanks.
And I don't think I could repeat it, Senator. Hopefully, I can craft something a bit more cognitive for language review.
Understanding the gist of it, I think, is the most important thing at this point. So, thank you. Hillary has her hand up, and then I know that we have some questions from Representative Salisbury as well as Representative Sampson. So.
Yes, so I just forwarded Representative Stern's email onto the full committee. I do have that policy. Should anybody want me to pull it up and screen share it, I do have it up on my screen. And if I may briefly, Representative Stearns, at least let you know what I wrote down in regards to what you think you will be proposing, which would be to make the IMB policy basically be a mandatory policy, and I just have to figure out how to phrase that. But in addition, create a stakeholder group of Maine School Management, MEA, MPA, and the Department of Education to develop a proposal for professional development for training for teachers, administrators, and school board members regarding academic freedom and teaching about controversial and sensitive issues, and report back January or next session, and that the committee would be able to report out a bill. Does that sound about right?
Yes, and thank you for capturing that.
Thank you, Hillary. And so we had some questions from Representative Salisbury, followed by Representative Sampson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative Stearns. As a former chair of the policy committee, IMB is one of my favorites, and I'm just going to ask for some leeway, and I'd love to read you part of it because I think it's not only awesome for this particular moment, but I think it will carry us through maybe more work that we're doing later today and going forward. It says training in reflective and responsive thinking, though incorporated in course offerings at all grade levels, is the special responsibility of the social sciences. This training is impossible, or at least severely hampered, if the community does not respect the principles of freedom and recognize that dissent does not necessarily mean disloyalty. However, one form of dissent that is absolutely incompatible with freedom is that which attempts to end freedom. Irrational fears do just this, and thereby may block the school in its efforts to handle controversial issues in an atmosphere of freedom and thoroughness. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Sampson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative Salisbury, for sharing that. I would ask two things. If we could please consider adding a member of the public. And then Hillary, would you mind just sharing, can you screen share the outline? I think it's very instructive and helpful. And I think for the record, people should see this, the public should have access to hearing the outlines in the IMB.
Is it the policy?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Sure. Is that our chairs? You mind if I share my screen?
Before you do so, what was your first question? I'm sorry, Ms. Sampson, was to add what?
Sorry, all kinds of links opened up. To add a member of the public as well.
To this conversation?
To this study group.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, all right. I was
sorry.
Lost me there. I'm sorry. All right, I'm trying to keep up, but thank you. Hillary, you wanted to, your question was, you want to share the IMB?
Yes, Representative Sampson had asked if I could just pull that up on my screen so that the committee could also, and the public could see it, if that's all right.
Thank you.
All right, so let's start at the top. That's helpful. So this is the policy that Representative Stearns had requested and I send, and Representative Sampson just asked me to share. This looks like this is a sample from the RSU 68.
Thank you. In the meantime, I'm going to do my best with the raised hands. I'm not sure if I do see one, and I'll call on Representative Stearns. You have an additional question, sir?
I just would like to point out that, and Hillary is on it right now, but Part C has particular pertinence to the bill that Representative Carmichael has brought in, his amendment. Part C, in my opinion, the language in there really covers the gist of what he brought forward.
Thank you. I see your hand, Representative. Thanks, Hillary. Representative Dodge.
Thank you. One phrase stands out. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Where am I? I'm in 7 places at once. One phrase stood out, that this policy should be developed in terms of the rights of students, not the rights of teachers. That was quite near the top. What are the implications of that particular phrase, please, in the context of what we're attempting to do? That question is for anyone.
Okay. I was trying to find the sentence you were referring to, but there it is, highlighted. Representative Stearns, did you have a response to that or an additional question?
I do have a response to that. And through my career in education, the one tenet that has been foremost in the work is our students are absolutely precious cargo, and we have them in a confined environment. And many times outside entities of one type or another are convinced that the schoolhouse is a great vehicle for putting forth all kinds of different propositions to a confined audience. And it's imperative that we protect those students at the same time with balancing it with the professional freedoms that teachers need in order to, so that they're not always being nitpicked and second guessed when they're trying to put forward controversial material. So I believe that my opinion is that sentence is at the highest level. It is always imperative that we protect the sanctity of the schoolhouse in regard to students.
Thank you. Did you have a follow-up?
Yes,
Representative Dodge, I see your hand is still up. I'm sorry.
I can't get there from here. Holy schmoly. I'm having a rough time this morning. I apologize. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative Stearns. Of course, students are always at the top of the list. But as a teacher, I also want to make sure that if we're developing broad policy, that we make considerations for teachers and staff and our educational leaders also. Thank you.
I haven't been with you.
Yes. Sorry. Representative Stearns, your hand's still up. Did you have a follow-up?
Yes, a couple things, if I might, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate the leeway. But my response to that would be, we're not developing policy. The policy is in place. I think you'll find it in place in nearly every school system in Maine. The policy's there. What I'd like to develop is real good professional development around it to really make sure that people have the best advantage to be successful. And my second piece is I would really, if the chairs agree, I would really like to hear from Representative Carmichael, who is with us, and get his thoughts at some point as we move along here.
Well, if we have specific questions for him, yes, but I don't want to honestly have an additional public hearing. But if we have specific questions, I'd be happy to have those answered.
Understood. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Representative Brennan. You're muted, sir.
Question goes to both Ms. Risler and to Representative Stearns. I'm sorry, I'm not that familiar with the IMB quote process or whatever. Are all I see that the one that was presented to us, the policy was adopted by one local school district. Are all local school districts required to adopt a policy on quote controversial issues and how they're taught? And is your amendment, or is your amendment suggesting that everybody adopt a boilermate, plate policy related to these issues?
Sorry about that. It took me a minute to get my video started. To respond to that question, my amendment would make this required policy.
Not necessarily, are you saying the policy that you presented to us, or every school district would develop their own policy?
The policy as presented, or if there's a more recent policy from that is been put out by Maine School Management, whatever the most recent policy for IMB.
Okay, so if we adopted your amendment, every school district would have a policy that would be identical to the one that was presented to us?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. And secondly, if I just have a quick follow-up question, and this could go to Representative Carmichael as well as Representative Stearns or Ms. Risler. Does anybody know in the past year, 2 years, 3 years, that somebody's teaching certificate has been denied or drawn because of their teaching of issues within the classroom, or that anybody has been dismissed by a local school district because of their handling of, quote, controversial issues? And in other words, so that's the question.
The only hand up I see is Representative Stearns.
My response to that would be I'm not aware of anything in the past few years. However, there are some pretty good court cases in the past that have resulted in law. And oftentimes it was in regard to religion. I remember studying some court cases where in the eyes of the board of directors, the teacher refused to stop proselytizing in class, and that was carried forward I believe all the way to the Supreme Court in Maine. But so there have been cases in the past, but I'm not aware of anything in the past 2 or 3 years. That doesn't mean that hasn't happened.
Thank you. Further discussions? Anyone? All right. Representative Dodge.
Would it be possible to have our resident school board member make any further observations that might be helpful? I don't mean to put her on the
believe that she is
okay.
at another committee. Oh, I'm sorry. No, she is back.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
I just wondered if it would be possible or okay for you as our resident school board person to add any other observations or thoughts on this issue from your knowledge base, please.
Sure. I think, you know, a lot of our policies are policies that we get directly from Maine School Management, and either you can school committees can have Maine School Management like do a complete review, or you can pull from them. I was actually in the process of writing an email to Maine School Management, to Charlotte, that does the policies, to see if there was a newer thing. And I think the big thing is the reason you have policies is to set that ground rule so that you aren't dealing with an issue later on. So for example, for new people that might be coming into your district, so they understand what the expectations are and what the beliefs that the school district has, you know, so like in this case, this gives you an idea of how, you know, the policy that we use, which sounds like a lot of other districts might be using, this is how we feel when it comes to teaching controversial issues. Because it's, you know, and I think like most school districts, there's a policy on everything, really. And so something as important of this, it's very specific and very detailed. So I think it's really helpful to have that because when you do, if there is a controversial issue, if you are going to start teaching something, you have this to kind of rest back on, that this is our beliefs and that.
Thank you. Representative Brennan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to request a 10-minute corner caucus.
Yes, sir. So I have 11:15. And before we leave, we may, I have a question from Senator Woodson that may be relative to before we break.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. I wonder if Sam could search the waiting room and see if Eileen King is available for when you would come back from caucus for discussion.
Not currently, Senator, but she was invited. So maybe she's tied up with something else, but she definitely received the work session link for today.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So we'll see you folks at 10:25. I mean, sorry, 11:25. Thank you. I'm leaving.
Sam, how about Steve Bailey? Is he available?
I'm gonna email their secretary right now, Senator, and see, because I did register Eileen King, but maybe if she's tied up, Steve would be able to step in.
Okay, thank you.
God, what the heck?
Sam, you're so efficient that I get lost coming back because you're sending out links for future meetings.
Yeah, and there's probably a bunch of notices and other schedules and things there too, Senator.
I end up in places that no one else is at.
You're at tomorrow's hearing.
Yes,
That's it.
I
That's it.
actually did that.
Yeah, well, I'm usually a day late and $1 short. I'm never a day early with a pocket full of money, so. We are ready to roll.
It's never a good sign when you come in late and everybody is laughing.
Oh, well, I was at tomorrow's meeting. This is what happened first, so. Representative Brennan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Chair. I know we're back in work session on LD 550, and I would like to make a motion ought not to pass on LD 550. And I appreciate Representative Stearns' comments and the discussions, but I really don't believe that this is a significant issue across the state with teachers, and I just don't believe that 550 or the proposed amendment is warranted at this point.
I would second that motion, Mr. Chair, please. Thank you.
Thank you. I got to get to Mr. Baker has his hand up, though. I'm sorry. Are we good, Sam?
Thank you, Senator. I just want to say, Senator Woodson had asked for Eileen King, and I was able to get her into the attendee room while you were corner caucusing. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Thank you very much. So I do have a motion. The motion's been seconded, and discussion. Representative Lyman, I'm sorry, another hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, Representative Carmichael, for being here. I'm interested in hearing from you on your position about the amendment being proposed from Representative Stearns.
And a specific question, or just his feelings on the amendment?
Yeah, what he is considering or thinking about the amendment that was offered.
Thank you. I'm trying
Thank
to
you.
find Representative Carmichael on my screen. I see him. Is he?
Right here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the question. I think this is a very important issue, and that if this is a way that we can move the issue forward to give parents a voice, I'm more than happy to work with you. Thank you.
Thank you. You all set? Did you? Okay, I thought you might have a follow-up there. My apologies. So I don't see any hands up at this point. So I have a motion by Representative Brennan on LD 550 ought not to pass as amended. It was seconded by Representative Dodge. Any further discussion? Sam, if you would be so kind as to call the roll at this time, please.
Yes, Senator. And was that Representative McCray or Representative Dodge that seconded it?
Dodge.
Was Dodge? Okay, thank you.
It was Dodge, yes.
All right, thank you. All right. Senator Rafferty.
Yes, ought not to pass as amended.
Thank you. Senator Rafferty votes yes. Senator Woodson?
Yes.
Senator Woodson votes yes. Representative Brennan?
Yes.
Representative Brennan votes yes. Representative Millette?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the motion?
Just ought not to pass.
Yes.
Representative Millet votes yes. Representative McCray?
Yes.
Representative McCray votes yes. Representative Dodge?
Yay.
Representative Dodge votes yay. Representative Crockett?
Yes.
Representative Crockett votes yes. Representative Salisbury?
Yes.
Representative Salisbury votes yes. Representative Stearns?
No.
Representative Stearns votes no. Representative Sampson?
No.
Representative Sampson votes no. Representative Lyman?
No.
Representative Lyman votes no. And I still don't see Representative Roach.
So
So,
missing Roach and Daughtry, correct?
yes, Senator. And then the final vote is 8 in favor of the motion, 3 opposed. And the minority report?
Thank you, Sam. The minority report would be, as we outlined earlier in this discussion, and Ms. Risler has that, I believe.
Thank you.
Yes,
Hillary?
the only thing I'm just not quite sure on is I think, the term IMB is a code for that particular policy. I'm just going to have to figure out the best way to refer to it in statute, but I'll bring that back for language review and make sure that that works for those of you on the minority report. And if I do have questions, I'll reach out.
Thank you. And Representative Carmichael, thank you very much, sir, for being here and bringing this forward. You have a good day.
Thank you for your time.
I'll call this session on LD 550 to a close. And I have, I'm just looking to, and somebody has to tell me, were we scheduled to just go straight through, or was there a time frame that we advertise specific bills? I'm confused on that at this point.
We did not advertise any specific times, I don't believe, although Mr. Baker is the official schedule sender outer, if you will.
Okay. Thank you.
Senator Rafferty, if I could suggest, maybe if we have Ms. Risler go through the bill review on 96, 156, 833, and 1082, ask her any questions, what have you. That might take us right around till 12 o'clock, 12:30, and then if we took a half-hour break, that might make sense, and then we could come back and work the 4 bills. But that's just a suggestion. I don't know how other people on the committee would feel about that.
Thank you. I would like to move into that analysis. I think that it's early enough yet. And
Mr. Chair, could I jump in? I'm sorry. How did I vote on that last bill?
You voted yes, ought not to pass as amended, I believe.
Okay, well, that's my mistake. I meant to vote no.
I would need some direction in terms of how to.
Well, Senator, if we want to do this very, very quickly and to accommodate Senator Woodson, I will move to reconsider, and we would then have to take the vote over again if Senator Woodson wanted to change his vote.
I would appreciate that. I apologize.
All right, then I'll move, having voted on the prevailing side, I will move to reconsider my vote on LD 550.
Second that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're
And
welcome.
it just takes a majority vote to reconsider.
So, and we can do that, please, by a show of hands, if you would, to reconsider, vote to reconsider. And I see, yes.
So now
we have enough, so we'll bring it for reconsideration. Go ahead,
So
Representative
Senator,
Brennan.
I would make a motion ought not to pass on LD 550.
As
I would
amended.
second that motion, Mr. Chair, please.
Thank you. And that was as amended, sir?
No, that's just ought not to pass.
Ought not to pass. I'm sorry. Thank you very much. And thank you, Representative Dodge, for your second. And saying any questions? Yes, Senator Woodson?
No, I just raised my hand for the other one. I didn't lower it. I'm sorry. I'm ready to vote.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Sam, if you would be kind enough, sir, to call the roll.
Yes, Senator. And just to be clear, the motion is ought not to pass. All right. Senator Rafferty?
Yes, ought not to pass.
Senator Rafferty votes yes. Senator Woodson?
No.
Senator Woodson votes no. Representative Brennan?
Yes.
Representative Brennan votes yes. Representative Millette?
Yes.
Representative Millette votes yes. Representative McCray?
Yes.
Representative McCray votes yes. Representative Dodge?
Yay.
Representative Dodge votes yay. Representative Crockett?
Yes.
Representative Crockett votes yes. Representative Salisbury?
Yes.
Representative Salisbury votes yes. Representative Stearns?
No.
Representative Stearns votes no. Representative Sampson?
No.
Representative Sampson votes no. Representative Lyman?
No.
Representative Lyman votes no. And still no Representative Roach.
Rep.
All right, Senators, I have 7 in favor of the motion, 4 opposed, and the minority report again. Representative Stearns?
The minority report would be ought to pass as amended.
Thank you.
Oops. Thank you, folks.
You're welcome, sir. Okay, so I will, again, close that session on LD 550. We will move forward with the analysis from Hillary relative to LDs 96, 156, 833, and 1082. Hillary, the
All right.
floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and I will share my screen. All right, so this is LD 96, which is an act to create fairness in the treatment of students by retaining students with certain vaccine exemptions, an act to promote school attendance by exempting virtual public charter school and private school students from immunization requirements, an act to amend the laws governing vaccines by reinstating religious exemptions, and an act to improve educational opportunities by exempting children who attend virtual public charter schools from immunization requirements and expanding enrollment at virtual public charter schools. So all 4 of these bills are addressing the same issue, but in different ways. And so what I thought the easiest thing is to simply put this chart together for you that covers a summary of each of the bills, as well as the sections of law that are affected by each bill. I wanted to include the affected sections because, as we talked about earlier in regards to a different bill, if the committee were to move forward with all 4 of these bills and you have these particular sections of law being affected in slightly different ways, the committee could end up with a situation where there's a substantive or a technical conflict between those enacted sections. And so the committee may want to consider moving forward with only 1 or 2 vehicles or bills that affect those sections. However, of course, it's not fatal. Certainly, if the committee moves forward with all the bills, those particular sections could be amended via floor amendments once the bills get to the House and Senate chambers, or they could ultimately be fixed through an errors bill. So the first bill is LD 96. So current law allows a student covered by an IEP who elected a philosophical or religious exemption from immunization on or before September 1st of 2021 to continue to attend school after September 1, 2021 without being immunized, as long as certain statements regarding acknowledgement of the risk and benefits associated with the choice to immunize are provided. LD 96 would extend this exemption to any student who elected a philosophical or religious exemption from immunization on or before September 1st of 2021. So it would go from just being for those students with IEPs to any of those students who currently have those exemptions or have those exemptions on or before September 1st. That bill does not have any fiscal impact. LD 156, this committee received a proposed amendment from the sponsor, and that's the amendment that I'm going to refer to for the purposes of this bill analysis. The bill provides that the legislature is required to enact laws that are necessary to ensure that all school administrative units make suitable provisions for the support and maintenance of public schools, which is current law, but it adds that the education of every person within the age limits prescribed by statute who reside in the school administrative unit. As amended, the bill would exempt students who are enrolled in or attend private religious schools from the immunization requirements. And we do not have a fiscal impact statement yet for LD 156. LD 833 would reinstate the religious exemption that is set to expire on September 1st of 2021 for students in elementary, secondary, and post-secondary schools and employees of nursery schools and certain healthcare facilities. The preliminary fiscal impact on this bill indicates a minor cost increase, which can be absorbed by the Department of Education and the Department of Health and Human Services within existing resources. LD 1082 would increase the total enrollment at virtual public charter schools authorized by the Maine Charter School Commission from 1,000 at all virtual public charter schools to 1,500 at a virtual public charter school. It allows a virtual public charter school to expand to serve grade levels beyond the grade levels under the school's initial or renewed charter contract to include grade levels 5 and 6. And it exempts children who are enrolled in or attend a virtual public charter school from immunization requirements. And it also allows the Maine Charter School Commission to adopt safety protocols for physical attendance by such children at any class or school program. And we do not have a preliminary fiscal impact statement for that bill yet. So this committee heard a lot of testimony. Certainly, this is just a snapshot of the testimony you heard. It does not include everything. I tried to focus on pulling together the testimony that was repeated for a number of bills, as well as some of the testimony that was specific to these individual bills, as they all are addressing this situation in a unique way. But I certainly want the committee to understand that it is not representative of all the testimony that you received. So proponents of the bills testified as follows. So on LD 96, specifically, it will not decrease vaccination rates. It is a matter of fairness that will allow kids in school now to complete their education with their classmates and will help families that entered the school system under one set of rules remain under those rules until their children graduate. That vaccine mandates force religious schools to be inconsistent with the application of their faith, and some vaccines contain materials that are deeply objectionable, both morally and religiously, for many people. That the permanent medical decision should not be made and forced on citizens by state authorities, and the medical exemption is not being applied as promised. LD 1082 makes good on Rep. Tipping's promise to provide a public school option to vaccine choice families and increases the cap on the virtual public charter schools so that they can accommodate some of the increased demand that they will face, which is urgent as schools look at reopening and more in-person learning this fall. That removal of the philosophical and religious exemptions in the bill 2 years ago goes against informed consent, bodily autonomy, religious freedom, and parental rights. That these bills will help to ensure that every student in Maine retains access to education rather than forcing children out of school. Many children will not be able to go to school next year unless the religious exemption is reinstated as proposed in LD 833. And that many schools will lose a significant number of students if the families must choose between mandated vaccination and withdrawing their children and homeschooling or moving out of state, which will negatively affect the families, the children, the schools, both public and private, and the economy when parents need to exit the workforce to homeschool their children. Opponents of the bills testify that the original law was supported by an unprecedented coalition of healthcare providers, health systems, hospitals, insurers, school nurses, community organizations, religious organizations, and businesses. That LD 96, 156, and 833 put children in schools at risk of preventable infectious diseases, and that children need schools open now more than ever, with a caveat that LD 1082 might be better reserved for rulemaking than legislation. And that the attempt to overturn the removal of the philosophical and religious exemptions was rejected by Maine voters, with 72.5% voting against repealing the law. And there was also a concern expressed about exemption of all private schools, which could create islands of non-vaccinated students. The committee also received testimony neither for nor against that education is so important, and this issue creates questions of equal access and questions of how schools will educate kids that are not vaccinated, and where will the financial support be if none of these bills pass. And the Maine Virtual Academy's fully virtual model can operate without vaccinated students because they study from home, which provides an opportunity for students who are not vaccinated to stay in the public school system. And there's an exception that students who wish to participate in programs at local school districts will follow all rules in those educational settings. So the committee made a number of requests for some additional information, which I've tried to supply for you. First, there were a lot of questions regarding the special referendum. I included for you a link to the Citizens Guide published by the Secretary of State at the time. I had also sent you a chart that is an overview of all the statutes regarding the people's veto process, and I definitely want to thank my colleague in OPLA who prepared that for the VLA committee, as they deal with that issue a lot more than mine, but that saved me some time. I did reach out to the Secretary of State to get the totals for you, which are listed here. The total number of registered voters as of that date, which is also listed here. And then I included a link to these results, which has the full spreadsheets and the breakdowns of these votes, as well as the other two items that were on the statewide ballot at that time, which were the presidential primaries for both Republicans and Democrats, as well as one special state rep election. The committee asked for some more information, specifically in regards to how public charter school students may or may not participate in regular school activities. I am certainly not going to read this full statute here, but the link is there, and I did provide it for your review. And it does provide the conditions under which, under current law, public charter school students, even if they're attending fully virtually at the public charter school, may participate in extracurricular or interscholastic activities. And it provides for some of the limitations on that by the superintendent's agreements. So there were a number of questions for the department, which I listed here just in question form, but I also did forward that question answer for you. It provided a brief update on the rulemaking for Joint Rule Chapter 126/261. And I would note, I believe that there is discussion that rule is not final, it's not public. I have not seen it, but my understanding is that there is some possibility of some exceptions for students who are fully remote. I think someone from the department was going to try to be here today to provide more of an update for you on that. Not having seen the rule, I can't really comment on that any further. Let me just pull that up for you, the question and answer document for you. So one of the questions included how many students are in Maine and how many in pre-K through grade 12, and what is the breakdown between public, private, and town academies, etc. And so this includes all of those counts for the committee. There was also a question in regards to which are the diseases that are currently included as mandatory vaccinations, as well as how long it can take for a student to get caught up on vaccination if they're not currently caught up pursuant to the CDC's guidelines. And those answers are provided for you here, as well as an estimate from staff at the CDC regarding minimal interviews for each of the required vaccinations. Again, I'm not going to read through all this, but I will scroll through it relatively quickly for your review, and I'll make sure this all gets posted to the web as well. Although the majority of the rule covering mandatory vaccinations is a routine technical rule, the exception to that is that for adding a new requirement for mandatory vaccinations, it is required to be a major substantive rulemaking process. And so if they wanted to add a rule, that would come back before you for legislative review prior to final approval. There was a question about how many other states have exemptions or require full vaccination. I did provide a link here to the National Conference of State Legislatures research. They have a good resource on that, which has a lot of that information for you. Also regarding colleges, under Maine law, colleges are also included in mandatory vaccination. So I included a link to that statute there as well. And last but not least, subsequent to the public hearing, I did receive a request from a member of the committee to include for the committee the case of Bangor Baptist Church v. the State of Maine Department of Education, which was referenced in Representative Drinkwater's testimony on LD 156, as well as a link to the Maine Constitution. So I provided those links for you there as well. So I know that is a lot of information all at once, and I know a lot of it was in a lot of different places, but I hope you were able to locate it. And as I said, I'll try to get all of that posted up to the web as soon as I can. But you may know from the time I sent it to you last night that I wasn't quite done, so it'll take a minute to get posted to the web.
Well, thank you very much. Do we have any questions of Hillary at this time in terms of her breakdown? No. Okay. Well, are there any questions in terms of the committee itself? No? All right. Well, having heard the analysis and given up questions, we have two choices. We can either work through, if folks are looking to take a short lunch recess, we're welcome to do so. I just need some direction. Hearing none, let's move on. I have a hand up, Representative Brennan.
Mr. Chair, I'm assuming that we are going to go, we're in work session, but we will take the LDs up individually.
Yes, well, that was, are you asking me that? I'm sorry, were you asking for Hillary?
Well, I'm asking you,
Yeah.
but even though Ms. Risler gave a collective review of all the bills, we would take them up individually. And then I know that Representative Drinkwater does have an amendment, which he may offer when we get to LD 156.
Yes, and I had listed them in numerical order.
So that being the case, I'll move ought not to pass on LD 96.
Okay, Representative Brennan, a motion to ought not to pass on LD 96. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Thank you. That was Representative Millette, I believe. I'm trying to look down and write and listen all at the same time. So my apologies there. And I do a question. Yes, Representative Stearns, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just as a point of order, if you will, to follow up on Representative Brennan's pointing out that we're going to take the bills up individually. I think it would provide clarity if we could open the session, the work session on LD 96 and deal with the matter, close it, open up the next one, just as a friendly suggestion.
Thank you. So I thought I said yes to that when he made that request, but officially I will open the session on LD 96 and ask that Representative Brennan repeat his motion, please, to confirm.
Thank you, Senator. I move ought not to pass on LD 96.
Thank you. Representative Millette.
Second.
Thank you. Any further questions, folks, or discussion relative to LD 96 at this time? Saying none. I'm sorry, Representative Stearns.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will not be supporting the motion. I feel that there was some really compelling evidence put forward that LD 96 would not change the law on the books, the controversial, if you will, LD 878. One thing that I'm always concerned about students, and there will be students that will be caught between the philosophical discussions of adults that make laws and adults that are parents and have made firm philosophical or moral decisions. And we'll have students caught in that crossfire with no evidence that I can see that they're going to cause any more of a threat next year or the year after, or the year after that. It was pointed out that the vaccination rates will naturally increase as students matriculate. So that's the reasoning for my opposition.
Thank you, sir. Representative Sampson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The other thing I want to just remind everyone is that we've already seen a large number of children withdrawn from the schools just because of the pandemic. Last session, it was provided to all of us the number of students that will be withdrawing, which is almost on par with the ones that withdrew for COVID, not necessarily the same people by any stretch of the imagination. So all I'm suggesting is that we're going to have a significant financial hit to the public school system. If we don't pass this bill, we're going to see a large number of children being permanently removed from the public education system. And instead of what this bill is providing, which is a gradual shifting away from the policies that we've had, which would give schools a chance to accommodate the shift that is occurring on a more gradual basis rather than a sudden hit. So that's something to seriously take into consideration because this is going to impact our schools.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Yes, Representative Salisbury.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Sampson, a couple of weeks ago when we first started discussing this, I kind of agreed with you. I was thinking a lot about how, maybe this would be this gradual sort of transition. And then, I've done a lot of reading and talking about these bills. And I guess the point that is really hit home with me where I won't be supporting this bill is that this same group of people had 2 years to decide. They knew that the deadline was September 1st, 2021. And that deadline was given for a reason to help that transition. And still, we have between 6,000 and 8,000 students that will have to leave school. And I just feel like the voters spoke, the law was passed, the grace period was given, and yet families sort of took the gamble that these bills would be submitted. And that's an unfortunate position for all of us to be in. And I hope that next session, we're not here again with another set of bills, like continuing this process. I don't know when it is enough. It's heartbreaking to hear, like Representative Stern say, children that are caught in this crossfire of all of this. And it's definitely had a big impact on me. I've put a lot of thought and effort into researching these bills and the good and the bad about it. But I think the part that frustrates me the most is we gave them a deadline. We gave that leeway and it wasn't followed. And now we're even at a more heart-wrenching situation. So I won't be supporting this bill.
Could I have an opportunity to respond?
Yes.
Thank you. Say that more cheerfully, sir.
I'm sorry?
Say that more cheerfully. I'm trying not to drag this on. I just would like to address your concerns. I think you bring up some interesting points, Representative Salisbury. We need to remember that COVID hit, and that was at the end of last session as this was all, finalized, and parents could not get into their primary care physicians for nearly a year. And that is actually hard, cold fact and reality. So parents were unable to get the necessary shots to get their kids caught up in a gradual manner they were unable to get in to see their doctors. So now, and this is a problem. Now we have, the doctor's offices have opened up, but there's not a window of time. If a child has to catch up on a number of vaccines, even doctors aren't recommending they get them all at once, and they should have them spread out. So if we hadn't had COVID, your argument would be valid. But the fact that we had COVID, that ends that argument that you just stated, because now they are in a shortened time. And then, you brought up the people spoke. Well, about a third of the people voted. And so you can do the math and realize it's not really the majority of the people. So that I just wanted to address those two concerns, but I appreciate you sharing your thoughts.
Thank you. Folks, any other discussion? So then, that said, Sam, if we could, we have a motion by Representative Brennan, ought not to pass on LD 96. That was seconded by Representative Millette. Seeing no hands, a request for further discussion. I'm going to ask that we move the vote, please. And would you be kind enough to call the roll?
Yes, Senator. Senator Rafferty?
Yes, ought not to pass.
Senator Rafferty votes yes. Senator Woodson?
No.
Senator Woodson votes no. Representative Brennan?
Yes.
Representative Brennan votes yes. Representative Millette?
Yes.
Representative Millette votes yes. Representative McCray?
Yes.
Representative McCray votes yes. Representative Dodge?
Yay.
Representative Dodge votes yay. Representative Crockett?
Yes.
Representative Crockett votes yes. Representative Salisbury?
Yes.
Representative Salisbury votes yes. Representative Stearns?
No.
Representative Stearns votes no. Representative Sampson?
No.
Representative Sampson votes no. Representative Lyman?
No.
Representative Lyman votes no. And still no Representative Roach. All right, Senator, so I have 7 in favor of the motion, 4 opposed, and the minority report?
The minority report would be ought to pass.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Check in with Larry Lockman, see if that was okay.
I'm sorry, somebody talking to me. So I'd like to close the session on LD 96 and open the session on LD 156. And looking for any questions or, yes, Representative Salisbury has a hand up.
I think you were directing something at me, Representative Sampson. I just wanted to give you an opportunity. Were you saying that to me? I missed it. Representative Sampson.
I think you're muted,
I'm
Representative.
sorry. I didn't hear what the question was.
I said it sounded like you were saying something to me before you muted yourself earlier. I just wanted to give you the opportunity.
I muted myself after I said thank you for your thoughts. That was all I said.
I think there was someone else speaking. I don't know who.
Moving forward then, do we have any questions currently? And Representative Salisbury, did you have, I'm sorry, you have a follow-up? Okay, I'm sorry. Representative Brennan?
Yes, Senator Rafferty, I understand that Representative Drinkwater does have an amendment to LD 156, and at this point, I'd like to at least give him the opportunity to present that amendment to the committee.
Thank you, sir. And Sam, is Representative Drinkwater, I see him, I'm not sure that he has ability to go.
I do.
Oh,
Mr.
thank
Chair.
you. Thank you very much and welcome.
And welcome all of you into my home. My amendment, I'm striking out the virtual school I think Representative Sampson bill does a good job at explaining what we're both working for. So I'd like to strike that. And I would like to add that I'm not asking just for, I'm asking for private religious schools to be allowed to continue business as usual. So that's my amendment.
Thank you, sir. Does anyone have any question or need for clarification on the amendment? Thank you, Representative Drinkwater. Representative Stearns.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm wondering if I could ask Representative Drinkwater, these are schools that do not take state funds, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct, Representative Stearns.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Sampson, you have a question, followed by Representative Brennan.
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Representative Drinkwater, thanks for being here. You have also referenced the court decision with Bangor Christian. And could you speak to that as it pertains to this particular issue?
Absolutely. I'm sure I won't go over the court case because I'm sure you've all had a chance to look at it, and I hope that you did read it. But the Department of Education, just to give a quick synopsis here, tried to enforce rules upon religious schools back in the late 70s, early 80s. It ended up in federal court. The private schools lost at the state level, but when it went to federal court, Judge Conrad Sear ruled in favor of the private religious schools. What the state was trying to do was trying to close the schools for refusing to comply with teacher certification and curriculum requirements. Now, I don't think it takes much of thought to realize that if those two important issues were agreed to by the federal courts, that requiring private schools to turn kids away at the door because they're not vaccinated, I think that ties in nicely with this court case. So that's what I asked the committee to review. I would pray that you see it my way. I don't know if we can go there, but hopefully this committee will say, you know what, we took an oath to obey the law and we are going to perform our duty. So that's a quick highlight of the case.
Thank you, sir. I have two hands up. One hand up. Representative Brennan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I would like to make a motion at this point. Ought not to pass on LD 5156. And I appreciate Representative Drinkwater being here with us and his amendment. But I still think it's important for us to move forward with the legislation that was passed in 2019. I think that was good, sound public policy, and that reasons for exemptions or changes at this point are not warranted.
I'd like to second that motion.
Thank you. So I had a motion by Representative Brennan not to pass on LD 156, seconded by Representative McCray. Don't see any hands up. So I will move the question at this time and ask Sam if you would be kind enough, please, to call the roll.
Yes, Senator. Senator Rafferty?
Yes, ought not to pass.
Senator Rafferty votes yes. Senator Woodson?
No.
Senator Woodson votes no. Representative Brennan?
Yes.
Representative Brennan votes yes. Representative Millette?
Yes.
Representative Millette votes yes. Representative McCray?
Yes.
Representative McCray votes yes. Representative Dodge?
Yay.
Representative Dodge votes yay. Representative Crockett?
Yes.
Representative Crockett votes yes. Representative Salisbury?
Yes.
Representative Salisbury votes yes. Representative Stearns?
No.
Representative Stearns votes no. Representative Sampson?
Nope.
Representative Sampson votes no. Representative Lyman?
No.
Representative Lyman votes no. And Representative Roach still not with us. right, Senators, I have 7 in favor of the motion, 4 opposed, and the minority report.
Ought to pass as amended.
Thank you.
Sam, just for clarification, I had no vote cast by Roach, Representative Roach or Senator Daughtry.
Correct, Senator.
Thank you. And I will call the session relative to LD 156 to a close. And Representative Drinkwater, sir, thank you very much for bringing this forward, and we appreciate you being here today. Have a good afternoon. Trying to keep this straight here. Here we go. Moving along. My apologies. Yeah, just give me a second. Next on our agenda is LD 833. I will open that session. That is an act to amend the laws governing the vaccines by reinstating the religious exemptions, which we've heard the analysis. Any discussions? Questions? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion. Representative Brennan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move ought not to pass on LD 833.
Second.
I had a motion by Representative, seconded by Representative Millet. And I do not see any discussion or questions. Further discussion? Seeing none, I'd like to move the vote, Sam, and ask please that you would call the roll. Just to review, we have a motion by Representative Brennan, ought not to pass on LD 833, seconded by Representative Millet.
Okay, Senator. Senator Rafferty.
Yes, ought not to pass.
Senator Rafferty votes yes. Senator Woodson.
No.
Senator Woodson votes no. Representative Brennan.
Yes.
Representative Brennan votes yes. Representative Millet.
Yes.
Representative Millet votes yes. Representative McCray.
Yes.
Representative McCray votes yes. Representative Dodge.
Yay.
Representative Dodge votes yay. Representative Crockett.
Yes.
Representative Crockett votes yes. Representative Salisbury.
Yes.
Representative Salisbury votes yes. Representative Stearns.
No.
Representative Stearns votes no. Representative Sampson.
No.
Representative Sampson votes no. Representative Lyman.
No.
Representative Lyman votes no. And still no Representative Roach. All right, Senator. So 7 in favor of the motion, 4 opposed, and the minority report.
Ought to pass.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, folks. So I will call the session on LD 833 to a close. Hillary, you have a hand up?
I do. I just wanted to mention that LD 833 did have a preliminary fiscal impact statement. It's just a minor cost increase. That additional costs may be absorbed, but the fiscal note is required. Is the minority comfortable with incorporating that fiscal note?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hillary. Your efficiency becomes more evident every day. Thank you for that. We have one more LD to work, and that would be LD 1082. And I will open the session on that at this time, please. And any questions? Yes. Representative Sampson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion. Ought to pass.
Thank you.
I second it.
Sampson with a motion ought to pass. And I'm sorry, my head
I
was
sec-
down. Thank you, Representative Lyman. I appreciate that. So the motion has been made on LD 1082, ought to pass by Representative Sampson, seconded by Representative Lyman. Do I have any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, I'm going to move the vote and ask that Mr. Baker, if you would be.
I'm sorry to jump in here. Mr. Chair, I have a question of Hillary, if I could. On,
Yes.
on clarification. It may be fine, but I can read this two different ways. Underneath this summary that you showed us in the various boxes, it says this bill increases the total enrollment at virtual public charter schools authorized by Maine Charter School Commission from 1,000 at all virtual public charter schools to 1,500 at a virtual private charter school. Does that need to be clarified? I mean, does that mean 1,500 at each school? I'm interpreting it could be, it's obviously the total, but is that clear?
So the way it's current, so the current law basically says that the total enrollment at all of the virtual public charter schools authorized by the commission may not exceed 1,000. This bill would change that to, rather than it being at all, it would be at a singular virtual charter school would be 1,500. So each virtual charter school could have an enrollment of 1,500.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you. So currently we have a motion on the floor by Representative Sampson, ought to pass, seconded by Representative Lyman. And I was working on moving to vote and would ask that Sam, if you would be kind enough, please, to call the roll.
Yes, Senator. Senator Rafferty.
No.
Senator Rafferty votes no. Senator Daughtry.
No.
Senator Daughtry votes no. Senator Woodson.
Yes.
Senator Woodson votes yes. Representative Brennan.
No.
Representative Brennan votes no. Representative Millette.
No.
Representative Millette votes no. Representative McCray.
No.
Representative McCray votes no. Representative Dodge.
Nay.
Representative Dodge votes nay. Representative Crockett.
No.
Representative Crockett votes no. Representative Salisbury.
No.
Representative Salisbury votes no. Representative Stearns.
Yes.
Representative Stearns votes yes. Representative Sampson.
Yes.
Representative Sampson votes yes. Representative Lyman.
Yes.
Representative Lyman votes yes. And Representative Roach.
I'm going to vote absentee. I just want to make sure I know what I'm doing. I just entered, so I don't want to do it right this second.
Okay, Representative. All right, Senators. So we have 4 in favor of the motion and 8 opposed.
Thank you, Sam. Representative Brennan.
Thank you, Senator. And given that the previous motion failed, I'll make a motion ought not to pass on LD 1082.
I will second that, Mr. Chair, if I might. Thank you.
So Representative Brennan's motion is ought not to pass, and that was seconded by Representative Dodge.
And I'm now on camera to second that officially if that is necessary, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Any further discussion? Then I would ask, please, Sam, if you would be kind enough to call the roll again.
Yes, Senator. Senator Rafferty.
Yes, ought not to pass.
Senator Rafferty votes yes. Senator Daughtry.
Yes.
Senator Daughtry votes yes. Senator Woodson.
No.
Senator Woodson votes no. Representative Brennan.
Yes.
Representative Brennan votes yes. Representative Millette.
Yes.
Representative Millet votes yes. Representative McCray.
Yes.
Representative McCray votes yes. Representative Dodge.
Yay.
Representative Dodge votes yay. Representative Crockett.
Yes.
Representative Crockett votes yes. Representative Salisbury.
Yes.
Representative Salisbury votes yes. Representative Stearns.
No.
Representative Stearns votes no. Representative Sampson.
No.
Representative Sampson votes no. Representative Lyman.
No.
Representative Lyman votes no. And Representative Roach.
Again, I'm
Still
gonna
absent.
vote on
Okay,
it.
no, yep. All right, Senator, so we have 8 in favor of the motion and 4 opposed. And the minority report?
Ought to pass.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, folks. I will call the session on 10:82 to a close. Hillary, you have a hand up for a question or comment? You're muted, I think.
I am muted. Okay. Sorry, I actually just have to correct myself on LD 833. I had thought that the fiscal note was required, and as soon as I said that, I went and double checked and I was incorrect. So my apologies. The fiscal note is not required on LD 833. And so that will be an ought to pass without any amendment. So my apologies for that confusion. I was a little too efficient for my own good.
Well, we appreciate you doing that, and thank you for the correction. Folks, I believe in terms of our work for the day, that brings us to a close. Anyone have, I'm sorry, Representative Salisbury had a hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was going to wait until you looked up for sure.
I appreciate that. You're kind of reading me now.
No, I know these things. Just as a general reminder to our committee that our committee meetings are streaming live on YouTube. And to be very careful if you're making comments when you're not on mute, because people hear that and then they start texting and they'll relay exactly what happened. And I, just as a new representative, I'm a little surprised recently over some things I've heard and things that have been texted to me from people in the waiting room, because they were surprised as well. So just as a reminder, who we are and who we represent. And I'm assuming that those sort of things wouldn't happen if you were in person, sitting in a room with people. I know it's easier when you're on Zoom to have a little more leeway. Just wanted to share that.
Thank you. And I think that serves us all well in terms of managing ourselves. You know, I hear people welcome us, as Representative Drinkwater welcomed us into his home. And I know when I was in labor and housing, I often mention that we are welcome in one another's home. And I think it's important that we remember that in doing so. But thanks for that reminder. Folks, yes, Representative Brennan.
Thank you, Senator, and thank you for members of the committee for our work today. And I want to just call for a brief Democratic Corner caucus when we adjourn.
Thank you. You're a mind reader on top of everything else, but that's a good thing. Mr. Baker.
Thank you, Senator. Just because we had some absentee votes today and people have already been responding to those, so that's good. I just wanted to remind people that they have until 12 p.m. tomorrow to respond to those emails. Just a reminder that that timeline changed from having the 2 business days to just 1 business day. So I try to get those out as quickly as I can. We had quite a few votes today, so I did fall behind on the last 3, but I'm going to get those out as soon as possible. And if you can just respond as soon as you see it, then that way we can get your vote recorded.
Thank you very much. And I think we did give a reminder of tomorrow's changes in terms of our session, so that everyone's aware of that. Senator Woodson?
Yes, I probably will not be here tomorrow, but I may be also, but my schedule doesn't look good.
Thank you for that heads up. I know that I have some testimony in other committees as well tomorrow myself, but we'll all keep plugging along, I'm sure.
And just a reminder that we are starting at 9 o'clock tomorrow, even though we have had the schedule change.
Thanks. I appreciate that reminder as well. And Representative Crockett.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just got knocked off. So whatever Sam was saying, if you could just let me know what that was, either via email or phone call, and I'll be all caught up.
Well, if you join us in caucus, we'll be all set here momentarily. All right. Anything else, folks? We missed you today, Representative Roach, but
A long morning on a bill that got tabled after 2.5 hours, so.
well, that's all right.
Feel like you on that
You'll
one,
get there.
Roach.
You'll get there. Folks, have a good day and thank you very much for your continued work.
Everybody.